Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly, Uncensored.
That was weird.
Welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. This is our off-air podcast that we do 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We normally go live on the Miguel and Holly Instagram, or YouTube and Facebook, and the Hits 961 Instagram, Facebook page. If you ever want to hop on and say hello, make sure to listen to our other podcasts that we have, like Miguel and Holly Full Show, Miguel and Holly's Blown Off. We have so many different options for you to pick. So please listen to some of the podcasts and share the podcast with someone else as well.
Get the word out. Let's make the fam bigger.
Yes, and you can always hop into the Miguel and Holly fam/Platypus Posse group on Facebook.
Which we just had our 2-year anniversary.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I love
made
it.
a post and I was like, happy 2-year anniversary, Platypus fam.
Yes. Well, I always feel like when you listen to a radio show, especially, in the morning or in the podcast, like you are alone, usually probably driving or running errands. And so when we bring stuff up, and especially if you can't call in, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to someone about it. And so that's a good vehicle for you. If you're like, what Miguel and Holly said today was crazy as hell.
Yeah.
You can go to the Facebook page and have those sort of discussions.
Yeah.
We are on the road to 500 reviews on Apple Podcast. We are at 495.
Ooh,
Holy moly.
it's happening.
I
So,
know it is happening.
Literally on our to-do list, we need to write down how we're going to give away this $50 because I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe-
is it going to be like anybody that wants to willy-nilly can just apply, right?
Yeah,
No, I mean,
Or
it'll,
you had to have written a review at some point?
And it's not going to be on air, correct? It
No,
really
no, no,
should
no.
be to people who
No,
wrote
no,
the
no,
No,
review.
it's just podcast.
well,
No.
no, I don't want to just, we're going to leave it open to whoever is listening to the podcast. So what I'm hoping for is there's some sort of website where we can have you like sign up and it'll randomly pick a person because not everyone also has Apple Podcasts. So not everybody could leave a review that wanted it. So that's why I don't want to just say it's only for people that have Apple.
Right.
I'm just hope that if you are entering into it and you listen to the podcast, you have at least shared the podcast with another person.
You can review on Spotify too.
Oh, can you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys
Oh.
have reviews there.
Do we really?
Yeah.
I don't ever use Spotify, so I don't know.
That's not millennial.
It's not. I'm too old for Spotify.
You
Which is
have-
weird.
you
I know
guys have
people
a
my age, but
5.0 from 93 people.
thank
What?
the Lord.
Oh, wow.
93, by the way, that
93.
we have left unattended.
I am
Miguel. Who knew?
Listen, I can't.
Who knew?
Wait, where do you even see that on Spotify?
You just go to the page, scroll all the way to the top, and you'll
Uh.
see it's just a star rating. I don't think people leave comments though.
Gotcha. Okay.
But that's really cool. I swear I have Spotify. Yep, it's in the cloud.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, fun. You can
Yeah.
rate the show. Cool. Well, thank you if you've done that on Spotify. We appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we will leave it open, the $50 to anyone. We just got to figure out the vehicle of how we're going to do it.
There
Okay.
must be
Um,
some
I'm sure there's,
way to
You have to follow us on Instagram first.
host
Yeah.
a contest.
listen, if I can find the tool, by the way, behind the scenes stuff, the Instagram contest that we do, like we just did one for Morgan Wallen.
Yeah.
And I've had some people be like, so do y'all really scroll through all the submissions? And I'm like, no, there are wonderful tools that
Yes.
will go through. You put in all the rules that we have, like you have to follow Miguel and Holly and hits. Did you share it? It goes through all of that. And then it randomly picks a person.
Mhm.
So that's how we pick it. But I'm sure there is some sort of contest picker on the internet somewhere that we could use for this. So we'll have to figure
We
that
need
out.
a contest picker.
Contest picker. Oh, by the way, speaking of, here is the latest review that we got on Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
This is from sface99. The subject line, like family. Way back in 2017, I made the rough transition from is that Michigan?
Yeah.
Michigan to Florida to work at a kid's place of Tampa Bay.
That is a rough transition, by the way. I mean, Tampa Bay, not as much, but like just moving from the north to the actual south is,
Mm,
you don't realize it's going to be a time, but
it's hard. I was homesick from my family, but also from my morning radio show family back in Michigan.
Mm.
I wonder if it was the Mojo show.
Well,
in
we don't know if it
Detroit.
was Detroit or
No.
any other place in the wide
I'm
expanse
curious.
of Michigan, with many of the UP, the Upper Peninsula.
Okay.
No.
Mhm.
Y'all don't know anything about Michigan?
No,
Okay.
I
Listen,
don't.
you're talking to a Georgia boy and then a Florida boy. Mm-mm.
Well, come to me for all things Northern.
The kids at the foster care I worked at introduced me to your morning show, and I
Oh.
haven't looked back since then. You're always entertaining, but you're also very personal and invite us into your lives in the best way. I've laughed till I cried. I've cried with you. I've shared my heartbreaks with you. Thanks, Miguel, for your advice over the years. Much appreciated. When we had the family meeting about you guys leaving, we were all devastated, but eager to hear where you were headed next. I was nervous for you as you navigated your new normal. Thank you for always bringing us on your journey and for making us family. We love you.
So
That's so
sweet.
sweet.
Well, thank you, S Face 99.
S face.
Mhm.
I love it. So yeah, please leave a review. We appreciate it. It helps us and spread the word. Tell somebody to listen. All right, there are a couple things that I wanted to get to on the podcast today.
Got it. Can we talk
Um,
really quickly about how much of a train wreck it was behind the scenes today?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Y'all don't even know. Like today was one of those days that I was like half in the show, half behind the scenes. So obviously, if you're new to the podcast, I'm in like sort of control central for the show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the,
we're in
the
Command
studio.
Central.
The
Command,
brain.
yeah, right here where I'm like pushing the buttons and doing all the stuff.
It's a big studio.
And so then Holly's in her studio in Tampa, and then producer Kelvin is behind me in his producer's room. And so then it all sort of feeds to the main studio. Well, when I got here this morning, there were some things that were just not right. And sort of like with iHeart moving into these new studios where it looks the same in Tampa, like it looks here, like in New York or in Chicago.
Right.
They do it so we're all connected. So like if I need to do the show with Holly in Tampa, we can do it. Or if we all go to Chicago, we can do the show from Chicago. We just press a button, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Well, everything's in the cloud. Well, there were some things that just weren't right this morning. And so I had to get on the horn with the IT department because we don't have anyone locally. So we were like fighting blind this morning where like
Yeah.
I couldn't see Holly and Kelvin most of the show. We couldn't record phone calls. We only could do them live.
Mhm.
Right.
And so there are some gaps where, if we throw out the phone number, there's a good like 10 to 15 minutes before we get to that topic. So usually if you call in, we record you, we edit it, and then we play it back.
Yeah.
We couldn't do that. So we had
Mm-mm.
people sit on the phone for like 15 minutes waiting to talk.
But they did though.
They did.
Mhm. They did.
They hung out. They were like, sure, okay. I'm
Bless
like,
them.
Yes.
We had good topics today, though.
We
Yeah.
did, which I was like, I don't want to miss any of these phone calls because they're so good.
thankfully we didn't. I mean, everybody held tight. It was like old school radio days.
It was. I was just trying not to freak out so y'all didn't freak out. But there were times when y'all couldn't see me where I was like,
Oh my God. Oh God. Oh my gosh.
and I was just like, girl, it is what it
Yeah,
is.
your camera was off for like half the show.
Yes,
Yes.
it was. And like doing the segments, when I can't see you, it is very much like all your other senses get heightened. And I was just
Mhm.
like, usually it just runs pretty smoothly, but
Right.
it's like you are up on a tight wire without a net.
100%.
And
And-
like, that you've done this every day of your life for 15 years. So like,
Mhm.
how to cross the tightrope, but like, still you're like, something could go wrong at any moment.
Right.
Especially when we took two live phone call segments, actually 3.
3.
Yeah.
But the ones in the 8 o'clock for Am I the A-hole, I got a little worried because we had some people they were fired up, rightfully so, for the topic. But there was that one Angela when she was like,
I was worried she was gonna swear.
his ass. And I was
Yeah.
like,
To
My
my mother.
I don't know. I was like, is the dump button working? We don't know.
I was like,
I
it's
don't
lit
know.
up. I think I know if it's not working. I think that's a fail safe that they put in that if it's not lit up, it's not working.
Got
So
it.
if that wasn't lit up, we would not have done any live phone calls.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So I was like,
Crazy. So anyway, that happened today.
yeah, that was the whew. But before we move on to the sexual topic that we were talking about earlier,
Oh.
let's talk about conspiracy theories.
All right.
Oh, good.
Let's do it.
Man, I wish we had time to talk about this, but then I was like, because once I saw, because I also couldn't see text this morning, because here's the crazy thing is like, because everything is in the cloud, our engineers that don't live here, they remoted in and they were like controlling my computer.
They were commandeering the entire thing.
So as we were doing segments, I was like looking where normally I would look at you, Holly and Kelvin on my screen. I was just looking at them like clicking and typing stuff in. So I was like, well, hopefully it's fixing stuff.
Yeah.
So I couldn't see the text, but earlier we did the topic of the emergency alert system is going off later today that they're testing on phones. And how you want to just in case someone missed it.
Oh, sure.
What's the deal for? And now obviously we're recording this Wednesday, October 4th at 10:45. So if you listen to this time shifted, this probably will have already passed.
That's not applicable to you. But at 2:20 this afternoon on Wednesday, October 4th, 2023, the emergency alert system is going to go off on everyone's cell phones. Doesn't matter if your phone is on silent. Doesn't matter if you opted out. The government said you're opted in, bitch. So they send out a thing, an alert, and it's just a test. So in case, the zombie apocalypse happens, they can actually alert us that something is going on. But also, aside from your cell phones, the broadcast EAS is going off as well. So radio, television, they're going to run that 30-second, this is a test thing at 2:20. And so it's the big test day. That's the long and short of it.
So we were talking about that, and I forgot how I was just trying to like add a little like haha funny at the end of you saying that. And we were talking about phones, people that have like several different phones.
Right. And we were like, well, in a very serious vein, quickly, if you are someone who is in the throes of like domestic abuse of some sorts, and you happen to have like a safe phone or something like a spare phone that is a secret, and obviously it would be very bad if like your abuser got wind of this. This is the message to get out was turn that off, because that's the only way that a phone will not go off with this alert is if it is powered off. And then, don't turn it back on again until you're safe to do so. So we were talking about that. And then Miguel was like, well, if you had a hoe phone, like you cheating and you got some other like, burner phone, let us know. And then we talked about that. And then somehow we talked about like a conspiracy. What did we talk about?
I don't even remember how it got brought up, but it was like, I think it was like, why are they doing this? Like, is there something coming that we don't know about? Like, why are they all of a sudden testing everything all at once? When normally, like, you've heard it on radio, and all of a sudden we're talking, we don't even know when it's going to happen. It comes down and it takes over the whole station, and it's like the emergency alert system.
They just do it, and there's probably a log somewhere, but I don't know. So anyway, however we got there, I was like, there are some various things that people have put forth. The first one, which I did talk about on the air, I saw this on TikTok because I'm often in that whole, like spiritual witchy TikTok thing, where they were like, well, some people are saying that in the spiritual community that today is there's always something. So today is some like your vibrations are higher or whatever, and when they send this test out, it's going to be like the sound like lifts you back up into that 5D energy or whatever. And then some people are like, or the sound that goes out is actually going to bring you down into lower dimensional energy. So there's like that spiritual side of the conspiracy about the EAS test.
Well, then on the air, Holly was like, oh, we got a text in. And then I could hear you processing it. And then because I couldn't see it. And then you were like, I'm not going to read that.
Well, because I had seen that. That was the one I was like, there's another conspiracy. And then I saw the text come in and I was like, that's it. And then I was like, I can't say this on the air. That's irresponsible broadcasting.
So let's just book in this. We do not believe this. This is a text that we are reading. This is not true. They said, I heard rumors that they say the alert will activate the chip that was implanted with COVID vaccine, and those with the vaccine will turn into zombies. Other end of that bookend.
Crying, laughing faces.
Right. So
the
they don't believe that, but they were like, that's what they saw.
But that is one of those people's conspiracy theories.
Just take me away.
Like, are people legit online being like, well,
yes,
this is it? Like, y'all, we've been saying it since 2021.
Yes.
The vaccine.
Yes.
2012.
I saw
666 day.
Yeah.
Y2K.
I saw something that was like, it's going to act. Wait a second. You know what? It might have been in the prep today. Can you give me 1 second? Like, wait.
There has to be at least one person in the 300
Absolutely.
million people here in the United States.
That's a zombie.
Oh, so
No.
it was in the prep today. It says some conspiracy theorists say they're avoiding this whole thing by leaving their phone off all day. They claim that the alert on people's cell phones will be used to, quote, activate nanoparticles introduced into people's bodies. There are many conflicting explanations, I say that in quotes, for how or why this will happen. But there's one video where a woman says the test will trigger graphene oxide that was put into people's blood through the COVID-19 vaccines. And when that happens, the government will be able to monitor people and control them like remote controlled toys. Now, I want to point out that in our radio prep for the day, it does say that graphene oxide is not an ingredient in any COVID vaccine. And even if it was, scientists say you cannot activate it. But whatever.
Signal.
Yeah.
I feel like not everybody should have access to the internet.
No, but you have to. It's all or nothing.
No, but I just feel like let's take me back to like the mid 90s when it was like you had the like big networks with NBC Nightly News, CBS Evening News, ABC Night, World News Tonight, and then because I'm like on my 90s kick, because I'm watching this The Dark Side of the 90s from Hulu, and I just found out this past weekend there's a season 2 where they go even more in depth with different topics.
I gotta look into that.
It's super fascinating. They had the whole one on like Arsenio Hall on
remember that was his thing. Like that was like no one did that before he did that.
No,
apparently.
it was like a thing. And then MTV's The Real World, they had a whole episode on that. So that was like my shit when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But anyway, they were saying how like at that time, one of the episode I watched yesterday was about tabloid journalism. So at the beginning of the 90s,
yeah.
we only got our news from like the local news and from those big nightly network shows.
Like Dan Rather.
Right.
You know, Brian Williams. He's maybe newer.
Tom Brokaw.
Tom Brokaw. Yes.
And
that
Peter
was like
Jennings on ABC Nightly News.
Yeah, Peter Jennings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's where we got our news. And then in 1989, when Rupert Murdoch came over right as he was creating the Fox Broadcasting Network, he also created this show, Holly, you'll remember this, called A Current Affair.
My Nana used to watch A Current Affair, and I even remember like the stinger sound that it would happen. It was like, it would be like, and it would be like A Current Affair. And it just, I was like, as a kid, I was like, this is a lot. I know what they talk about in this, but it seems very boring and stressful.
Hold on, let me pull this up. Because as they kept playing it on the thing, and I was like, oh my God, this is giving me like
it's
all
like a
the
memory
vibes.
Unlocked. I can hear it in my head. Oh God. Oh, that's the triangle.
Listen, hold on, let me pull this up.
See?
So
Current Affair.
Dramatic. But one of the things that they talked about with that is that's where they started the tabloid journalism, where they took some of the attributes that the New York Post that Rupert Murdoch owned, where it was like, instead of all the like, here's the political side of things, it was like, woman gets slammed by 2 guys behind the grocery store. We have the exclusive interview next. And then this is the time of like Amy Fisher, Joey Buttafuoco, when she got shot by the teenage girl that her husband was having an affair with, and then Lorena Bobbitt slicing off the penis.
Why do I remember that was just the running thread of things that I remember hearing about when I was about in like maybe 5th or 6th grade.
Oh yeah, we used to talk about that on the playground all the time. Like there was a song.
Joke.
A wing or swing away. There was like some.
Yes, there was a joke that was like, knock, knock, who's there? Amy Fisher. Amy Fisher who? Bang. And I didn't even know what it meant. Honestly, I
and
did
this
not
poor
even
woman,
what it meant.
like they interview. So,
my God.
Kelvin, you're too young. This was the early 90s. You don't remember any of this, but like this was a crazy ass story where this, I think it was New Jersey, and someone correct me in the comments. This New Jersey mom just opened the door one day, the doorbell rings, and this like 16, 17-year-old girl is like, your husband's having an affair. And she's like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, your husband's having an affair. She goes, all right, well, I will let him know when he gets home. And she goes to close the door, and this teenage girl just shoots her in the head.
Jesus.
And so then she runs away, and then like things go wild because
Did she die?
No, she was given an interview. Like
That's right.
And then
I was so young. I don't really remember.
But this documentary was so fascinating where like they gave all these interviews where like she thought that her husband was innocent. He went to trial, he got off, but they became these super famous people because remember, this is before the internet.
This was like the first time of like real people, celebrities, due to like bad behavior,
like viral.
Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And so then this is the interesting part that we just found out in this documentary, that so she still thought that her husband wasn't having an affair with this Amy Fisher woman. And like by the time they got to this point, each network, NBC, ABC, CBS, all had made for TV movies about it. And like
they did do made for TV movies, and yes, Doe Eyes on YouTube said it was New York because they called her the Long Island Lolita, and I remember that.
Right. This was
crazy.
A thing.
It was crazy.
And so they, I think it was either Hard Copy was another one of those tabloid shows like a current affair.
Yeah.
They paid Mary Jo Buttafuoco and her husband $500,000 for them to give an interview to where he would admit, yes, I did cheat with this Amy Fisher. And then she would have to say, I believe you and I forgive you for this. So they basically were coaching them to tell their story and paid them just so they could get the ratings. And like, that's how salacious and competitive it was back then with all these like tabloid journalism shows.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to throw out that I do believe this was around the time of like the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding thing. Like it just seemed like, now that I think about it, everything was so like this versus that. Like and it was like O.J. Simpson maybe was thrown into the mix.
And that's what they said, is that like it was sort of like the Mary Jo, you know, that whole situation, and then it was the Lorena Bobbitt, the penis situation,
the penis cutting off,
and then OJ. They were like, that is what was just like, that was the tipping point where it was just downhill from there, because then all the network. So then like the Tom Brokaw's and all those people
had to start covering it like that,
right,
in that way, because that OJ chase was so like, you couldn't. What else could they report on? Like all your competitors are literally following this white Bronco down the road, and you're just like, well, we have this story about, you know, the grocery store prices going up, and everyone's like, I want to see OJ. Like
literally.
Ordered pizza,
and everybody became famous from it, and that's when they start calling it pay journalism or something like that, where they would pay people for their interviews. They even had Maury Povich on it because he actually was the original host of A Current Affair when it first debuted in the late 80s, and then he went to go do his TV show. I highly suggest, if you have the millennial Gen X, A Dark Side of the 90s, the first season on Hulu, and then the second season I actually had to pay for, but it's like well worth it. So good. So good.
I feel like we may have gotten off track a little bit.
Yes, we did. What were we talking about? Conspiracy theories.
And
I was just saying that the internet, we should only allow. That's how we got on that. That we should only allow certain people on the internet. Well, it's just because like people just put out debunked, and even because I've started to look at TikTok a little bit more because I'm trying to like dip my toe into like creating videos just for my own social channel, not just for the show and the station. And so I'm like looking at stuff. And like, I see how when you have these bobbleheads, these figureheads on TikTok that seem very authoritative, and they're like, well, here's the truth. I've done this research. Yes, when the alert goes off, people will turn into zombies who got the vaccine. And I can see how it can be believable, but it's like, we have to like take a step back and be like, what are their credentials? Like, who is this person? Like, how do we, just because they say it doesn't mean it's true.
Right. And that's what is so we were talking earlier off the air during the show about discernment being so critical as like at any time you're online or, you know, hearing things, obviously having the skill of discernment to know like, all right, here I'm looking at like a spread of information. Which which one is coming from a vetted source? What
Right.
is the source? What is the date of that source? Where, who wrote this article? And, all of these questions that probably a lot of people weren't taught to ask these kinds of questions. Like,
Mhm.
it's only because I have this particular career that I even learned how to do it so well, because I think I'm pretty good, but even I get fooled sometimes. But
Mhm.
I think I have pretty good skills in online vetting and stuff like that, because I have a responsibility as a broadcaster not to blatantly put out information that is wrong in case it gets misconstrued, or if someone should come back, then I'm on the line for saying wrong information. And it's as a personal matter, I don't like to be wrong.
Mhm.
That's Holly. I'm
Absolutely.
like, well, I don't
I don't
know.
like to be wrong, because then having to walk it back and admit that I was wrong is just, I can't stand that. So, I'm going to try, and it's a benefit for you listening, because I'm gonna try and make sure everything I say is right. Now, am I gonna get things wrong accidentally? Sometimes, absolutely,
Mm,
and I have no problem. But like, if I have like studied something and like done the research, and then somehow then I'm wrong too, then I will be like, I was wrong,
mm.
because it does happen. You
Right.
could absolutely get some piece of wrong information that looks right
Mhm.
and be off. But yeah, how do you do that though, Miguel? Like, we can't just block off the internet.
People
No.
love their fake news memes. Like they
Yeah.
love to just easily repost it, or like even that's dangerous. I think that's the most dangerous kind of like fake news that is
Mm.
spreadable. But I even don't like the ones where like people repost celebrities and their quotes and they're
Mm,
inspirational, and I'm like, they never fucking said that.
mm.
Great
Like, my
quote,
favorite
but
is
they
when,
never
like,
said it.
there's a picture of the celebrity and a quote underneath it, and I'm like,
They never.
"How do you know that
Right.
Tom Cruise said that?
Right.
Mhm.
Are you sure?" And
Right.
people are just like, "Here's what Tom Cruise said," and I'm like,
Right.
"But you don't know that he said that, so
Right.
now you look like an idiot because you didn't figure out like, did you do a quick Google search to see if
Right.
Tom Cruise said that?" And it doesn't matter, because it's like an inspirational thing, and
Right.
maybe the message is fine, but it's still wrong.
But even for other stuff, and I've especially after George Floyd, when there were a lot of stories that were being shared, about injustices when it comes to people of color, and I would share a lot of those stories. And then there was one that I shared, and someone was like, "Hey, I know I'm white, and I'm not trying to take anything away from the movement, but that meme you posted doesn't accurately represent that news story." And I was like, okay, let me go do my own research. So I went and I was like, you know what? It's not right. And so I took it down. So now before I share anything like that, so first off, for me, I don't share anything unless I have Googled it and I
Mm,
made sure that it's being reported on by major news sources
Yeah.
and
mm,
that this is what happened.
Mhm.
I try to do that all the time. And then what I don't do, so I'm thinking of, y'all remember a few years ago, there was that story where I think there was like a bunch of like conservative white kids were on the Capitol and they were protesting. And then there was like a Native American man and there was some altercation. And
Yes.
I don't remember what it was.
I
The
don't
kid
remember.
smiling.
Yeah, something like that. But I remember everyone was like sharing that weekend. And I remember being like, let's wait until next week before I share anything until the full story fleshes out. And so
Mhm.
that's why like I waited. And so that's why I feel like if we took the time to just Google before you post and just make sure it's correct. And then also when something is breaking like that potentially is about to change someone's life and they're about to
Mhm.
cancel someone, like let's take a minute before we start sharing it. You know what I didn't wait is the Alabama
Oh, well,
boat
that
thing,
was, yeah, no, that was, that's a
girl,
little bit different, I feel like. That was
because
a
there were
little bit,
so many angles and there were so many things of that story.
yeah.
That was fucking
I
amazing.
do kind of feel like everyone kind of came together a little bit on that, maybe a
Yeah,
little.
that was a great
And then
weekend.
the memes,
The chair.
the chair. I saw a meme where like Bernie with his mittens was on, like, added to the, anyway.
I even got Abe to get one of our folding chairs out because we were gonna do a little video of it, but then something happened that week and we didn't get a chance to.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. So yeah, get people off the internet.
Yeah, no, yeah, people just misconstrue everything. Like, everyone is just shouting into the void at each other, and they have no idea what they're talking about. Like, they just want to be mad. I've realized like most people just want to fight. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I really have to pull myself away from Instagram, Twitter, not as much TikTok because it's not as interactive for me.
Mm.
I have a great feed set up where it's really like just stuff that I'm interested in. But Instagram, Twitter, it really I forget, but then I'm reminded like people are just out here looking to fight with you.
Yeah.
It's like honestly, it's some kind of not dopamine, but some kind of chemical hit in your brain where you're like, I'm gonna get online and I'm ready to fight. You say one thing and I'm gonna say 5 things about why you're wrong. And like it's so combative.
I follow Hollywood Unlocked on Instagram, and they have some really great posts and articles and lots of news stories, celebrity news gossip too. And then I read the comments and they're always homophobic, like extremely transphobic, all of it. And I find myself writing paragraphs like to respond and go back to people. And then right before I'm about to click post, I'm like, for what? I don't know who this is. It's not going to be constructive. It's nothing. Nothing's going to come out of it. So
Except you're
I've
gonna
learned.
frustrate yourself.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I've learned that like sometimes it's good to write it out and then being like,
Yeah.
not worth it.
I did that too.
It is
I wrote
so
something
rare.
out.
It's
It
so rare for me to actually post it now these days because
yeah.
it's not worth it.
It's not. I had somebody like I had posted something online and it was such a weird thing. I don't want to get into what it was, but because it was like something about what type of mom you want to be. And it was like, I want to be like, I don't want to be known as a strong woman. I don't want to be known as a strong mom. I want to be gentle with no struggles. And I'm like, doesn't really sit right with me. So I just wanted to leave a note for other moms that were like, that sounds weird. Because I was like, okay, well, I would like that too. But sometimes you're not given the option. Like sometimes you're given a struggle. And so in that case, I want to be strong. And like I just want showing and I put a little heart at the end of it, by the way, because I was not trying to be combative. I was just trying to
Mhm.
say, hey, let's look at this from another perspective. And somebody commented, it was like some fitness influencer had found it and was like, so what does quote unquote strength mean to you exactly? And I'm like, and I started typing right away. I'm like, I typed out a whole ass thing. And then, like Kelvin said, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, first of all, I don't owe you an explanation because who the fuck are you?
Mhm.
And number 2, why are you coming at me with a tone? Like, you know, it's a tone.
I know that's right.
So I was like, why are you coming at me with a tone? I don't know who you are. I don't owe you anything on this public post. And so I just, like, I felt good that I was starting to type it out. But then, like Kelvin, I was like, no, nope, just
We
going to leave that on red and just keep on moving.
we have to know each other for at least for me to really go back to back with you.
Yeah.
No.
Because I'm like, that's not a good faith that's not a good faith like question.
Nope.
I know what you're setting me up, but I just don't know in what way you want to do it. So no, thank you.
I feel like that's one of my unique superpowers that I don't care. Like I read stuff like that and I'm like, out of all like when I get online during the day on Instagram and if I'm just scrolling, that is my moment to escape. That like
Yeah.
I put down whatever I'm working on, what I'm doing, and this is just me to just mindlessly scroll. And so when I see comments like that are upsetting, or even if I get DMs of someone like sort of trying to like say some shit to me, I'm like, you are not going to take my peace in this moment. If
Mhm.
you want to call my radio show and we can talk about it and do a whole segment about
Get
it
some
and
ratings.
let me get some ratings out of it, absolutely. But you know what I'm not going to do? Spend the next 20 minutes stressed out trying to craft a message, which
Right.
you're then never going to read with the intention
You're going
with
to
which I'm writing it.
misinterpret it.
You're going to go through my pictures and then call me a fat hoe. And then you're going to try to make me feel bad. And there's nothing that's positive going to come from this. So you know what? I'm going to just let that comment that you write out negative, just let it be. And
Mhm.
I'm going to go about and live my life
Mhm.
Oh,
because
that's right.
I have a life.
I do have a life.
I got a life.
And
I got a
it's
life outside of this.
It's
thing right
actually
here.
really busy and I don't have the time for you. I don't even have time
Yeah.
for my actual friends and family most of the time. Why should I
No.
give any of my time to you?
None.
Random ass stranger.
That's like the one time I did, because that's why I don't even comment. Like one of the things that I wanted to do, sort of behind the scenes, and sort of getting us acclimated and known around Charlotte, at least online, was to take the Miguel and Holly Instagram. This is before you joined the show, Kelvin. And I was going to like take the Miguel and Holly Instagram and my Instagram and like comment on just different positive stories or like food posts about for the big Instagram influencers around town.
Right.
But like whenever you look at the comments, even like someone who's just covering food, someone will be like, you white bitch, why don't you cover any black businesses? Or for the black people, why do you only? And I'm like, you know what?
Mhm.
I'm not even going to use it as a tactic for us to get known. So I say that to say that right when Beyonce, I think it was her first or second show she did, and she posted a little reel with
from the tour that she just
from
wrapped up?
Renaissance Tour. And it was like, I think the first date, and it was like probably 10 o'clock at night or something like that. And I was like, we were all just desperate to see visuals from the show.
Right.
And so I clicked on it and there was like no sound. So I was like playing with my volume. I like restarted my phone. And then I wrote some sort of like, funny comment about like, girl, you got me over here trying to call AT&T and get a new phone because I didn't know you meant to, whatever. Something funny like that. I almost didn't post it because then I was like, someone's going to be like, you dumb bitch. How dare you not know that that's what mother meant? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I had some wine and I was
Not
like, you
mother.
know what? I'm going to post it and I'm going to go to bed.
Goofy.
Right? I was just trying to be funny and be
Right.
like, we're all trying to do the same thing.
I know.
Much
No,
to my
don't you dare be goofy online. Someone will
Literally.
come at you with a fucking machete. And
They're like, what? You're calling Beyonce the worst because she didn't put sound on her video?
You said the N-word? Like, I don't know.
You were
Like,
the
anyway.
next victim on Swarm.
And you married to a white man too? Fuck you!
Oh! You hate black men?
Like, I was just like, I'm gonna post it. So then I went to bed and I was like, whatever. I woke up and it was like my phone had blown up and there were like 40 comments in response to mine. And so I was like, oh shit.
That's like the worst thing, right?
Cancel
Like,
Miguel and Holly.
So you're like, yeah, I went viral. And I'm just like, oh God, no, I don't want this attention.
They'll find where you work.
They
Oh,
will,
seriously?
Yes.
like, they'll call Child Protective Services on me. Like,
They'll be like, Holly's co-host is writing bad things, so take her child away.
Take her child. Yes, they'll be like, I'm literally getting a call from Child Protective Services. I'm like, what? They're like, Miguel posted something online
about Beyonce.
about Beyonce. Okay, anyway, so wait, what had happened with these 40 comments?
So I was like, oh God. So I opened it up and they were all funny comments in agreement with me. I was like,
Jesus, that is a blessing. Hashtag blessed.
I was like, all right, I'll never do it again. That was it. That was my one time.
Yes,
where I wrote a little funny comment.
Slot machine and it paid out.
And I was like, that's it. I will never write another comment on a big post like that ever again. Poof, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Oh, Lord.
That
Were
won't
we
be your
supposed to talk about something else today
We
besides all
were.
this?
There was sex.
Well, this is quite a diverse podcast.
Sex and Beyonce. No, sex and conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
All right. So this is something I ran across today about how long you should wait before you do it. Okay.
Mhm.
So during the show, we all talked about how long did we wait until us and our partners. Oh, no. Did it.
Oh.
Because the psychotherapist said that there is a certain time where that it takes to be ready to be able to do it. That you should be like, we've met. Here's what's happened. Now let's
what?
Let's what now?
do it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Holly, how long did it take you and your fiance?
2 dates.
Ooh.
Listen. No, I know.
Get it.
That was probably ill-advised. I mean, I'll be honest. It wasn't.
You say that, but it worked out for you.
It did work out. But, I mean, obviously,
Wait,
it did
hold on.
work out.
As we get into this topic.
Mom!
Of course.
Yeah.
Miss Angela, you can't be live on it. Like, you gotta listen later.
What's I'm about to talk about? Adult time.
Oh, Kelvin, how long did it take you and your fiance before y'all?
I know by the third day he copped a feel,
Oh.
Oh, okay.
a grip. And then I think by the third week, I think we did it. Either third or fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we had a few dates. and it was in the radio station production room.
Oh,
I've told you this before. You just forgot.
I forget everything.
I
Hey,
know,
but you know what? Would you rather me do that or be like, oh yeah, I know you told me already. Anyway, so
Yes, I need Miguel to
Sorry.
forget because I tell my stories 17 million times and I need him to react that way every single time. So
That's
let him
true.
do it.
That's better.
I tell you, I got mad at Abe the other day. We were somewhere and I was telling a story and there was like a bunch of people and he was like, oh yeah, you told me this. And he started to, and I was like,
How dare
Damn.
That
I'm
is
sorry.
your story with the proper inflection, the correct timing on the pauses for the ha-has. Like, no.
I was like, don't
Damn.
you? And so yesterday we were talking on the phone and he told me a story on text early in the day. And then we were talking later in the evening and he started to tell me again. I was like, oh, you already told me that story.
You got
Petty bitch. I
you are
can't.
super petty. Like I'm never petty, really. Anytime I am petty ever, I immediately follow it up with I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
I didn't.
No, I know you didn't. I know you didn't. You're petty.
So it took us a month. We waited a whole month before we did it. So this study says, according to psychotherapists, a total of 36 hours spent together is all it takes to be ready. Those hours don't have to be consecutive. It could be a dinner date plus a weekend afternoon spent together and so on until the hours add up. Now, if a couple waits longer than that, the strong desire to have sex begins to disappear.
36 hours. That's a date is what, an average of what, 2 to 3 hours?
I mean, I feel like in a
dates.
movie, but like, let's say,
That's a
I'm trying to think.
Let's give it 4 hours.
Okay, 4. Like you do
Yeah.
dinner and drink
Yeah.
somewhere or movie.
I think our first date was pretty long. It was like a 4-hour
9
Thing.
dates. 9 dates.
That's 9 dates.
9 dates.
36 hours.
Yes.
4 hours a date.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Well, I fucked up.
Girl, I didn't. We were right on.
Well, good for you.
And we're all in the same place. Look at us.
That's fine.
No, I really think that it doesn't matter. Like we had some texts that came in. Let's
Oh
see
yeah, that was an
here.
interesting one about Steve Harvey.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So Shanika texted in because we talked about this at the end of the show today. She said, I'm a firm believer of Steve Harvey's 90-day rule. Like he says, when you start a job, you have a 90-day probationary period. Why can't your relationship get the same trial / getting to know you period? It worked for me and my boyfriend. We've been together for 3+ years. And I have a friend that is in a new situation. And I think he said they're waiting. Was it 30 dates or 20 dates?
Yeah.
Lord, if it works for you, it works for you. Could
Yeah.
not be me.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I have a story that where it worked reversely and did not work out for me, right? But I
Tell
want to
me.
hear. Oh goodness.
I'm looking.
Do you know? I want to say it was because I
20
do-
dates.
Yeah, vaguely remember. I don't
20
even know
dates.
which friend it is, but
20.
and I was like, oh my god, it's that feels like a movie. I feel like they did like it's like a Drew Barrymore movie or some rom-com type thing where it's like if you really like each other, you get to like date number 12 and you're like, can we just do the dates? Like it, I feel like it takes a lot of willpower. So good for them.
I mean, I'm
But-
not gonna say his name because he listens to the podcast, so he's gonna hear this at some point. But
Right.
like, and hopefully
And
I'm not.
I'm sure it went well for them, but like again, like Calvin said, like I would have a hard time. It would be like this ticking time bomb almost in the background.
Right.
But then it's like, so you're like, say at date 12 and you're like, oh my God, I wish it was date 20, like right now. Then you're like, God, come on. Then you get to date 20 and then almost it's like, I don't know. Like it's so much pressure. It's so much
Right.
pressure. Like, are you ready to go right now? Like we just did the 20 dates. Like, what if I'm not feeling it right now? Like, I don't know.
How you aside from work, right? Aside from work, humans aren't like when we attach appointments to emotions, I feel like that's really hard. I'm not a therapist, obviously, but I'm sure some people in different relationships schedule their sexy time. But I don't know.
Well,
for
a
me
lot of parents
personally-
have to, I think.
Right. Yeah.
But I've never been able to because it's like, what if you're not feeling it?
Right.
And then some people are like, well, just push through. And my fiance and I have had a conversation where he's like,
Push through.
if you ever
Push through.
and I've done that. I've done it before. And he's like, I do not ever want to have sex with you if you are quote unquote pushing through.
Be like, well,
No,
I gotta
he's
get
like,
the laundry out, and I gotta have sex, then I gotta put the chicken in
like,
the
well, I have a
marinade.
headache. I'm not really feeling that great right now. But I guess he's like, please never, ever do that, because that's horrible and
Right.
horrific for me. And I'm like, no, you're right. So yeah, anyway, back to scheduling sex. Like it does seem like very a little too
Yeah.
structured.
It's just when people tell me, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, when people tell me like I have to wait X amount of time, like why? Like go with the feeling, go with the chemistry.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I get it though, because I mean, I feel like when Abe and I went through that and we said we wanted to wait a month, there were some things that we just wanted to clear up and make sure that we were all safe and ready to go.
Which
And then
makes
also
sense.
too, like that
Yeah.
was, I was coming, for me personally, I was coming off the end of my summer of single,
Mhm.
where I was like, I'm not being in a relationship with anyone. I want to actually get to know people. So I was still in that mode of like, I know for me, if we do it, that will cloud my emotions.
Yeah.
And so then I could never discern lust for actual like.
Right.
And so that's why I was like, let's get to know each other without that being the expectation of the night.
Mhm.
Because I know for me, when I was single and I would go on dates, like that would be in the back of my mind. It'd be like, oh, we're going to do it. 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 Whereas like that first month we were together, like I knew it wasn't going to end there. Like there was going to be a point where he was going to go home. I was going to go home. Boom. And then after we got to that month, it was like, ha ha, we ready, bitch. Yes. And so then it was like, oh, but we had that whole month to just like, hey, who are you? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
like,
No, and I think that's really good. And I think a month is a good amount of time.
right.
Well, I think so too.
Yeah. Everyone's different though. For
Right.
some people it's, it could be 3 months or whatever. Some
Oof.
people really, and obviously usually this is religion, but they wait until literally they're married because they're like, this is a deep commitment. And honestly, I do feel like now that I'm old, I do feel like it's older.
You ain't old.
No, thank you. I'm not old yet. Thank you.
Mhm.
Now that I'm older, wiser,
Mhm.
that is a very intimate act.
Yeah.
Like my opinions have changed on it over the course of time, where it's like, I do want to know who you are. Like,
Would you change, if you could go back in time, would you change some of the sexual experiences you had knowing what you know now?
absolutely,
Like,
absolutely,
like
Uh,
less?
yeah. Any sexual experiences, because it was just, I mean, having been to therapy now and like looking back and seeing like, why do you choose to engage in certain sexual experiences? What is it doing for you? And what are your expectations from it? How do you think about sex? Like what, all of those things. I really didn't think about it in those terms, you know what I'm saying? So it was and I don't want to say like too much, because people get judgy. And so I am afraid of that. I'm just going to be honest. So I don't want to say too much, but it's like sometimes I look back and I'm like, God, I really could have done without that experience,
Mm.
because it was just terrible. Not like it was a choice, but it was just a bad choice. What was I looking for there? I think I went through a period of time where I was like, I'm just looking to be validated.
Mm.
Like I would like someone to validate me, that, and that's not a good reason to have sex, by the way. Like, so yeah, I think there's a lot of regrets.
Kelvin?
I would have had more sex.
Mm.
I don't feel like I had enough, right? Is a weird word. Not necessarily enough. I just don't think I was quite experienced. Like by the time that I got with Oscar was my first boyfriend. And
Mhm.
so I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, he just got out of a 5-year relationship. I don't really know how to do much, especially with gay sex too, because with straight sex, it's different.
Right.
And so I was just nervous the whole time. Like once we got down to the nitty gritty.
Mhm.
But I would have had more. I was very hesitant to do. Sorry, kid warning. Penetrative sex.
Mm.
Mm.
It was very much. It was just oral, which I know that is considered sex, but for me, it's a little easier compared to
Right.
Right.
penetrative sex.
Right.
So that was my thing. I would
Mm.
have done it more because I would have liked to have had that confidence of like, bitch, I know what to do. But I never had that.
But do you think that added a little bit of or first off, did you tell Oscar that before that you weren't that experienced, or did you just sort of dive in and say, well, we're just going to learn from experience?
I don't think I did. I don't think I did. I just kind of went with the flow and just see if I would have figured it out.
I think that that's a big issue in America. Like, we are so scared to talk about sex
Right.
with each other, with our
Mhm.
partners. Like, sex education, we're taking it out of schools. Like,
Mhm.
nobody knows anything about anything.
No.
Like, sometimes the amount of stuff I read online, like what men know about the female body, and I mean, I'm talking about straight men. I'm like, what? How? And then women too.
I was going to
They
say,
know about their own body.
I think in
because when you learn it,
our wild West days with Kramer back in Panama City, I remember we did a topic
yes,
about this, and there were some women that didn't
they had no
know
idea
that-
about their own bodies.
right, that they're technically like 3 things down there. Like, they didn't
Right.
know that. And I remember
No.
I distinctly, because I didn't know either, and I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
learning
learning
something as a
day.
22-year-old gay man that
Yeah.
there's no reason for me to know this. But like, there were women that called in Panama City that were like, wait, what?
Yeah. I think I didn't even know how to explain it.
Right.
I had no idea what to explain or how to. And so that leads to all this shame and all of this confusion and everybody thinking everybody else knows things that are different or whatever. And I just wish we lived in a country that it was more easily talked about without there being this layer of shame attached to it.
Right.
I
100%.
think it would make it better for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like and I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, is, I never, when I was single or in relationships before Abe, to me, sex was like burdensome because I felt like I was really bad at it. And I
Mm.
couldn't understand why. And it wasn't until I got with Abe when I realized that I was always in my head, that anytime with previous boyfriends, with hookups, I was always trying to do what I thought they wanted to do,
That's a
or
lot of people,
trying
I
to
think.
do what I saw in adult material.
Yeah.
And so with Abe, that was the first time where I just was in the moment. I wasn't like, all right, do my man boobs look big? Like, am I sucked in right? Oh my God, do I need to be climaxing now? Am I taking too long? Oh my God, I'm stressed out. I was just like, I'm feeling everything that's happening right now.
Mm.
And to me, I remember after our first time, I was like, well, fuck. I probably have been really bad at this because I was like a robot the whole time, where you probably looked at my eyes and I was just
It was, like,
glassed over.
dead inside.
Right, because I was like, oh, wait, I need to do this next. I need to do this next. I think this is what human beings do next when they're in an
Right.
intimate moment.
I think that's not uncommon though, Miguel.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you're alone in that, especially men, because porn is so prevalent
Right.
and it's so unrealistic. Like, it sets up your brain to be like, oh, this is how it should be.
Right.
Mhm.
And you have no idea that, like, in reality, it's a lot different.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that you were able to have such a good experience with Abe, because everybody should be able to experience that, like
Right.
a good, connective feeling, beautiful
Love making.
bond.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, and that's why, like, I feel like I'm not that person that's gonna say like, oh, you should wait till you get married. Like, that's not me. That's not my journey. And if you decide that, that's cool for you, and there's no judgment, whatever you decide. But I do think though that I wish that like we were able to teach, not like how to have sex, obviously, but like body positivity and how
Yeah.
to enjoy your body and not feel shame around it, to
Right.
where you feel like, that person's judging you.
Right.
Because I remember one of my friends telling me one time, he was like, okay, if you have been hanging out with somebody and y'all are in the bedroom and your clothes are off, he's not just going to walk away from you. There's clearly a reason why he likes you. So just enjoy it and get out of your fucking head.
Yeah.
And I'd
But
be
it's
like,
that's one thing to say it, but also then in the
"Ooh."
moment.
Right. And it
Just-
wasn't until Abe where I truly felt it that I was like, oh, I can tell there is no judgment. He's like, I'm here connecting with you in this moment. And that
Mhm.
is what this is about.
Mm.
So you felt it.
Right. 100%. Nasty bitch.
You
Goodness.
said it, bitch. I didn't say nothing. I was just you felt that.
Oh,
I would like to also, before we head out, remind you of the saying that I learned at my church growing up. Your virginity is a whole cake.
whole cake.
Each time you have sex, you give away a slice of that cake. Do you really want to go and meet your future person and bring them
A crumb.
that's it? Be like, girl, all my slice has been eaten. I got
Oh,
some
my slices.
I got some dried up icing on the corner of the cake plate. That's all you get left.
Like, not everybody needs a slice. Like, I wish I could.
I don't believe that, by the way, but that's just that is like core memory.
But
Learning
sometimes,
that.
like, you got some nice slices there. Does this person really
Yeah.
deserve a slice? Like, do you really
Mhm.
know that person that well?
I'll
Like,
serve you up some cake.
Maybe they should just get the cake topper and call it a day. They don't need a whole slice.
I don't need a whole slice. Okay,
Just get them a lick of the icing.
that's right.
Holly, what's all of your social media people can find?
I don't want you to find me. Radio Holly. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
Oh, producer Kelvin, how can people find you and your cake?
Send me your cake as well at Kelvin Live, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
Oh, mine is at Miguel Fuller. You can find me on Instagram, Be Real, Twitter, and on Peloton. We will see you all on Friday. Bye.
Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Catch it on the